Potomac Bead Company, and I am going to do a bracelet for you today that I'm changing up the design a little bit. This bracelet here, which we're calling the Pixie Bracelet, my daughter Bella picked that name out. She helped me come up with the colors for this design in this bracelet. This here is Anna's version of the Pixie Bracelet using some disc duos and some Emma beads. The Emma beads, if you're unfamiliar with them, look like little slices of cheese. They have 3 holes and they're triangular shaped. We're going to be using some of Potomac Bead Company exclusive beads along with the Emmas to kind of create a nice textured bracelet. So the Pixie Bracelet, if you need any of the materials, underneath the video is a a date stamp that says when the video was produced. Underneath that is a little button with down arrows that says show more. Inside that area will be links to all of the different products if you do want to purchase them from us online. So to change up the bracelet, rather than using disc duos, since you already get to see it with disc duos, I decided to switch it up to our newest bead, which are the iris duos. The iris duos are going to be a 2-hole bead, just like the disc duo, but the difference in measurement is a 4x7 millimeter bead versus a 6 millimeter bead. It's going to change the look a little bit, but I wanted to show that you can use other 2-hole beads working with this Emma bead in order to create the Pixie Bracelet. To do the Pixie Bracelet along with me today, you will need approximately 24 to 28 of the iris duo beads. If you have a smaller wrist, you can leave a couple of those off and you may be able to use a couple less. In addition to that, you're going to need your Emma beads. The Emma beads that I'll be using are the Pastel Lila along with the Crystal Full Lab of the iris duo. For your Emma beads, you want about 14 beads handy to make your little peaks in the bracelet. In addition to that, I'm going to throw in some crystals. These are 4mm Swarovski crystals in the olivine color, and I'm going to be adding those on the sides of the top here rather than just coming back straight down with seed beads. As far as seed beads go, in her design with the disc duo in the GT Sky, Anna used the 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to use both 11s and 15s, making some 15s as I go to the top of the Emma beads and keeping the 11-0s on the outside and between. The 11 and the 15 that I chose are both the Miyuki brand of seed beads, and the 11-0 is going to be the Light Amethyst AB. That's the transparent light amethyst, and then the green iris is going to be my 15-0 seed bead color. Holding the whole bracelet together will be a cup button in the amethyst color, along with its string and thread. I'm going to be using 0.006 wildfire beading thread in the green color, along with 2 needles. This is a double needle project, and I'm going to be using size 12 needles. To get started, I'm going to go ahead and put 5 feet of beading thread and get that off the spool with my thread burner here, the thread zap 2. I'm going to burn it off the spool, use my needle nose pliers that I have handy to flatten out the ends of the thread, and then go in and thread a needle on either end of that 5 feet of beading thread. It is a 2-needle project, so we'll get started by adding the button, and then we'll come up the project, come back the project, and go back down the project again. So we'll have lots of opportunities to reinforce the clasp. Again, if you need any of those materials, the list is below. Also, there's a little eye in the upper right-hand corner. If you move your mouse over there, that's information from us, the video creators, as well, in order to gather all of your materials to make this fun Pixie Bracelet. So to begin, we're going to start with our cup button. I have a needle on either end of my 5 feet of my beading thread, making sure that my tails of my needles there are about the exact same length to make sure that I have the same amount of thread on both needles. Generally speaking, when working with 2 needles, whatever you do with the right needle, you're also going to do with the left needle. To begin, we're going to start by putting on our amethyst button. To do so, with either the right or the left needle, add a 15, 11, and 15 to your needle. Hold the 2 needles then side by side and pick up your cup button. 1 needle will go through 1 hole of the cup button on the right side and 1 needle on the left side, with the cup button facing dome side down. Pull your needles equal distance to make sure you have the same thread amount on either side, and that will get your button in place. Again, we're going to be reinforcing and coming back down the line, so we don't have to worry about doing that yet. On the right needle, pick up 2 15s, and on the left needle, pick up 2 15s. After that, let them drop down next to your button. From here, we're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and crisscross through that seed bead. The needle will go from right to left, and this needle from left to right. Again, make sure that you're maintaining an equal distance of thread on both sides. From here, it's time to get started with our Emma bead. The Emma bead is going to sit on the end, and we're going to be going through the bottom 2 holes the whole start. Likewise, we're going to be going through 1 hole of each iris duo. The iris duos have a flat side and they have a rounded side. You want to make sure that the rounded side is always facing up. To go through the Emma bead, we're going to add 2 11s on both the right and the left needle. Pick up the next Emma bead, or the first Emma bead, and we're going to go through the bottom 2 holes. 1 needle going through the bottom right, 1 needle going through the bottom left. From here on, every time you pick up an Emma bead, you're going to make sure that the Emma bead has an empty hole facing right at the top. Coming out the Emma bead then, we're going to add 2 seed beads and then 1 15. On the right side, you're going to add 1 of the iris duos going through the left hole. After the iris duo, add a 15 and 2 11s. Let that drop down next to your Emma bead. On the left needle, do the same thing. 2 11s, 1 15, and then the iris duo on the left-hand side, you're going to go through the right hole and let that drop down. From here then, we'll add the 15 and the 2 11s like the other side. Let that all drop down next to the project, and it's time to add the next Emma bead. You just want to spot check after adding each bead to make sure that those specialty beads are all sitting facing upward. The next thing to add is the next Emma bead. Again, the left needle going through the left-hand hole at the bottom, the right needle going through the right-hand hole at the bottom, making sure that that empty hole is facing upward. From here, we're going to repeat the pattern, separating the needles now, and adding 2 seed beads, 1 15, and then an iris duo, a 15, 2 seed beads. Again, that's on the right-hand side, and then we're going to do the same thing on the left-hand side. When you're doing the iris duos, just a reminder that when you're with your right needle, you're going through the left-hand hole, and with the left needle, you're going through the right-hand hole. That's going to confirm that they sit facing the correct way. Again, 1 15 and 2 more 11s. Grab your next Emma bead. The needle on the left goes through the left bottom hole. Needle on the right goes through the right bottom hole. You can see that with using the iris duos are going to kind of sit off to the sides, just like with the disc duos. Again, the cool thing about this bracelet is it doesn't really matter what 2-hole bead you use along with the Emma bead. You can use any to get this fun design. Another idea as you're creating and working, if you have any Trinity beads, you can also swap the smaller version of the Trinity bead for the Emma bead. Continue building this until you have your 12 to 14 Emmas in place, depending on your wrist size, and then we'll come back together to make a loop and come back down the other way. So getting done that first row, you can see I used 12 of my Emma beads to make it for my size wrist. And we just kind of make sure, spot check that you have all of your Emmas facing the correct direction, that you have a loop or a hole open at the top, and all of the iris duos are sitting correctly as well. Now it's time to make the loop at the end here to go into my button. I'm going to do the loop with my 15 OC beads. Just like we did on the opposite side, on both the right and the left needle, I'm going to add 2 11 OC beads. After adding the 2 11-0 seed beads on the right and left, I'm going to add a 5th seed bead that I crisscross through. Then it's time to be fun and to have fun and add lots and lots of 15-0s onto the needle. So I'm going to take my needle and thread, grab about 35 of these guys, and put them on. Doesn't matter if you're doing it with your right needle or your left needle. Because we come back down the project, we will have an opportunity to reinforce this loop. You can also, if you want to, do a fancier loop like a peyote stitch loop as you come back down the project again. If you wanted to add a regular clasp, you would also do that now. I would suggest using a wire guard or a wire protector before using your metal clasp. Once you know you have enough seed beads on, that the loop is going to be big enough for the button to fit through, but not too big that it's going to fall off. You're going to take the needle and thread that's in your hand that you used and circle it back through that same 11-0 seed bead. From here, we are going to work our way to the top of the Emma bead. The top of the Emma bead, we're going to come out after our first bead. So we're going to come out after the first 11-0, after the iris duo. So we're going to bring our needle and thread basically back through the iris duo, through the 15 and the 11, and then hop up to the top of the Emma on both sides in order to do some seed beads. So at this point, to step up, I'm going to take my needle on the right hand side, go through the first 11-0 seed bead on the right, and the needle that's on the left, and go through the first seed bead on the left hand side. From here, we're going to jump up to the top of our Emma bead. To jump up to the top of the Emma bead, we're going to use, on our right needle, 3 15s and go into that top hole. On the left needle, go ahead and put 2 15s, and then you're going to share that third 15. So my needle is going to go through that same 15-0 seed bead, then through the Emma bead. Give it a nice tight pull, and that'll decorate the top of the Emma. Coming out the Emma bead, then I'm going to repeat where I add 3 of my 11s on one of my needles. On the other needle, I'm going to go through the first of those 15s, come on out, and add 2 more 15s. Those needles then will get separated going through the 11, the 15, the iris duo, the 15, and the 11. The needle on the left did it, now the needle on the right will do the same thing. Skipping over the first 11, it's going to go through the second 11, 15, iris duo, 15, and 11. That's going to pull that together and get that third hole rather of the Emma bead in place. It also pushes the iris duos out a tiny bit. From here, you're going to continue on down the bracelet, adding in your 2 15s on each side, joining the needles together, adding a 5th 15, going through the Emma, adding another 15, separating them out, and then always making sure that you're going through the 11, iris duo, or 11, 15, iris duo, 15, 11. So again, I'll pick up my 3 15s, go through the top hole of the Emma bead, grab the needle on the other side, add 2 more 15s. After I add the 2 15s, I'm going to go through the third 15 and through the top hole of the Emma. Give a nice tight pull at each little pass here to tighten up those, which again are going to push those iris duos out a tiny bit. Coming out them, we're going to repeat going both needles in the same direction through a 15, and then split 2 more 15s on each and connecting to the second 11 and stringing through. Continue adding these 15-0s the whole way down the bracelet till you get to the cup button at the other end. I'm almost done decorating the Emma beads, and I'm coming out the last Emma bead. What I'm going to do is add my 15-0s. I have my 3 15-0s on the one needle. I'm going to go through again the second 11-0, just as if I was continuing with the design here. and also go through the 11-0 that sits at the end of the cup button. Once I sew through there, I'm going to let that needle rest, pick up the other one, coming out, go through the first of the 15-0s, joining them, add 2 more 15s, and then go through the second 11 as well as the 11 that is crisscrossed below the cup button. This is one of those opportunities to reinforce that cup button. So I'm going to take my needle, go up through the 15s on the side, up through the cup button. When I come through the top of the cup button, I always try to come up through one of the seed beads. It makes it easier to kind of turn that little edge here in the cup button. Go through the seed beads, down the cup button on the other side, as well as through the 15-0s below, and crisscross again through that 11-0. That reinforces the cup button as well as gets the needles in place and ready to start going back down the bracelet. In Anna's original design here of the Pixie Bracelet, she came down to the end and just did the 11-0s down the ends. I thought I would jazz it up a little bit more with the iris duos and add in some crystals. To get to that point, we need to get from the outside here, from the last of the Emma beads to the first of our disc, or first of our iris duo beads. I'm going to kind of push the 15s out of the way, and I'm going to take my thread and needle, go down through the baseline of that Emma. So we're going down through the first 11-0s, through the Emma, and again this is that baseline, so if you need to you can kind of flip it over and go at it from the bottom, and then out through the 11-0s after the Emma. Once the thread is there, it's time to decorate the sides and to move to the outer edge. To move to the outer edge, I'm going to be using the 11-0 seed beads, bringing a little bit more of that purple color in. So I have my amethyst AB beads here that I'll dump out. Get my crystals ready. And we're going to come down the side. Get the left-hand needle in place so that way we're going to get ready to do the side here. And to get to that outer edge of the iris duo, go ahead and add on 2 of your 15s and 1 of your 11 and go through that outer edge here. That's going to step us up. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, stepping up and getting ready and in position to add in our crystals and our seed beads along the edge. Coming down the bracelet, you do the same thing on either side. So I thought I'd do a little bit of the left-hand side to show you the pattern that we're doing. As you come out the disc duo, or I'm sorry, as you come out the iris duo rather, you're going to pick up 5 of your 11 seed beads. Circle around the iris duo, which is going to decorate the top of the iris duo. If you're doing the disc duo, 5 is also your count. Go in then and add 2 11s, your 4mm crystal, and 2 11s. If you don't want to add in the crystal, you add 2 more 11s in. Catch the next iris duo, and then repeat. 5 seed beads go on, circle around the iris duo, give a nice little tight yank, 2 seed beads, crystal, 2 seed beads, next iris duo. So you can see it's quite a simple pattern coming down the sides of the bracelet. You can see here also how much the design kind of takes a different turn with a different style of bead, as well as just swapping out 2 of the 11-0s for a 4mm crystal. So that's the main reason that I wanted to switch up this bracelet, was to show you how easy it is, because a lot of you question what beads you can use for what, and a lot of patterns you just need to kind of figure it out a tiny bit, because a lot of patterns are very interchangeable. Continue building down the sides, adding in your 5 11s on top, and then your progression of the 2 11s, crystal, 2 11s. As you come around to the end, I'm leaving one of my tails that's getting really short kind of hang out there at the end. Coming out of the iris duo, I'm going to repeat what I did on the other side, adding 1 11, 2 15s, and then picking up the 11-0 seed bead right next to the last Emma bead, going through the last seed beads right near the Emma and coming out. From here, I'll reinforce my seed beads along the end of my loop for my button, and then I'll come down the other side and tie off the thread. So I'm going just right through here reinforcing. If you would want to do an actual clasp, again, you would be reinforcing with the wire guard here as well. If you also would like to do a peyote stitch, this is the perfect time to do a peyote stitch on your clasp. I would do that with 11-0 seed beads now. Coming through then the end, you're going to come out the 11-0 right on the side of the loop. And you're going to work your needle back to the same position on the other side, going through the 11-0s, the Emma, and coming out the first 11-0 seed bead. Mimicking the other side, you're going to do 2 15s and then 1 11. And then we get to tie our threads off. So the nice thing with where this is ending and where the thread became short is it's a nice inconspicuous place to do a tie. I'm going to tie right over left and left over right, tying a nice knot, and then I'll go in with my thread burner and burn down the edges of the actual bracelet. At this point then, the pixie bracelet is completed. And the cool thing, like I said, about this bracelet is really how much variation you can do on the bracelet with a very minor addition of a seed bead here or there. You can pretty much use any of the 2-hole beads that you would like with those Emmas or the Trinity beads, and adding in whether or not you want to add in the crystals or keep the crystals out of it. You can see how different the bracelet looks with just a simple switch. Again, if you need any of the beads or materials to make the pixie bracelet, you can go back to the beginning of the video where I listed them out, or you can go below the video to where it says the date stamp again and that show more. If you want to receive regular updates too, you can always subscribe to this YouTube channel and we'll send you emails when we have new videos available for you. You can also stay connected with me on our website at potomacbeads.com, as well as on our Facebook page and in Instagram and on Pinterest and all of those good places, social media places. You can also join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. On the Facebook group that we have, it's a wonderful collection of people that love to make jewelry, post and are excited about their designs, provide inspiration, and give helpful and handy tips as well. So check that out. If you get a chance to check out and get some Emma beads, or like I said, even some Trinity beads, have fun making this pixie bracelet. And thanks to Anna for another fun idea, and for Annabella, my daughter, for deciding that we're going to switch up which beads we used and colors and all of that too. So kind of combined effort on their parts. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy making the pixie bracelet.